On this day in history, we remember the remarkable individuals who shaped our world. Welcome to Who Died Today in History, where we honor their legacies. From artists to leaders, their impact lives on. If you find their stories meaningful, like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay connected.
Thank you to all our amazing channel members for your generous support.
Richard Harris, the Irish-born actor and singer whose commanding voice and magnetic presence defined both stage and screen, died on October 25, 2002, at the age of 72. His death came from complications related to Hodgkin's lymphoma, a cancer of the lymphatic system. Harris's passing marked not only the loss of one of cinema's most dynamic performers, but also the fading of a generation of actors who bridged classical theater with modern film. Harris's illness had been diagnosed only months before his death, yet even in his final year, he continued to work with unyielding dedication. His last role, as Albus Dumbledore in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, 2002, introduced him to a new generation of audiences. Despite frail health, Harris insisted on completing the film, embodying the very values of perseverance and craftsmanship that defined his era. His death, coming just as the Harry Potter series began its cultural ascent, left fans grieving the loss of a mentor figure whose real-life gravitas mirrored that of his character. Throughout his career, Harris reflected the contradictions of mid-20th century celebrity, an artist of immense sensitivity who also embodied the rebellious, hard-living spirit of his time. He was part of a wave of Irish and British actors who broke through Hollywood's dominance in the 1960s, bringing raw emotion and poetic realism to film. His roles in This Sporting Life, 1963, and Camelot, 1967, showcased his ability to blend masculinity with vulnerability, mirroring the social transformations of the post-war period. In a sense, his death represented the twilight of an era that valued theatrical grandeur and emotional depth over digital spectacle. The immediate aftermath of his passing was filled with tributes from across the entertainment world. Directors, co-stars, and audiences praised his uncompromising artistry and wit. Many noted that Harris lived as he performed, fully, passionately, and without apology. His funeral in Dublin was attended by family, friends, and admirers, who celebrated him not as a tragic figure, but as one who had fully embraced the human experience. In death, Richard Harris joined the pantheon of artists whose legacy transcends the screen. His Dumbledore remains a symbol of wisdom and humanity. His earlier performances, a testament to emotional authenticity. We immortalize figures like Harris because they remind us of life's fleeting brilliance, the tension between mortality and meaning. Through art, memory, and the stories we tell, Harris continues to live, not as a ghost of cinema's past, but as a timeless voice echoing through every generation that dares to feel deeply and live boldly. Viveca Lindfors, the Swedish-born actress whose magnetic performances bridged European artistry and Hollywood glamour, passed away at the age of 74. Her death was the result of complications from rheumatoid arthritis, a long and painful illness that she endured with quiet strength. Her passing marked the end of an era defined by the graceful migration of European talent into American cinema during the mid-20th century, a movement that reshaped global film culture. Lindfors's death reflected both the fragility and endurance of the artist's spirit. At a time when the film industry was dominated by youth and commercialism, she remained a symbol of mature artistry and intellectual depth. Her illness, which limited her physically but never silenced her voice, mirrored the challenges faced by aging women in Hollywood, an industry that too often discards its pioneers. Yet, even in her later years, Lindfors continued to work in film and theater, embodying the values of persistence, dignity, and creative independence. The immediate response to her death was one of admiration and remembrance from both sides of the Atlantic. In Sweden, she was hailed as a national treasure who had never lost her cultural roots despite her international fame. In the United States, tributes emphasized her versatility and fearlessness as an actress, qualities evident in films like Adventures of Don Juan, 1948, The Way We Were, 1973, and Stargate, 1994. Her presence brought depth and authenticity to every role, whether as a romantic lead or a character actress, proving that longevity in Hollywood could be built on substance rather than stardom alone. Lindfors' death also symbolized a generational shift in acting traditions, from classical European expression to the more naturalistic style of modern cinema. As a trained stage performer who thrived in Shakespearean drama and psychological realism, she represented the bridge between two artistic worlds. Her passing invited reflection on the transient nature of fame and the enduring value of artistic integrity. In remembering Viveca Lindfors, we confront the broader human yearning for legacy. She is immortalized not only through her films, but through the enduring respect of actors and directors who followed her path. Her life and death reveal how art allows humanity to transcend its mortality, how beauty, intelligence, and authenticity can outlast the body that once carried them. In the quiet dignity of her final years and the brilliance of her cinematic legacy, Lindfors remains a testament to the timeless power of creative courage and the eternal conversation between life and art. Roger Miller, one of America's most inventive and beloved singer-songwriters, passed away on October 25, 1992, at the age of 56, from complications related to lung and throat cancer. His death marked the loss of a musical maverick whose humor, wit, and poetic simplicity transformed country music in the 1960s. Miller's passing, though natural in cause, carried symbolic weight. It reflected the toll of an era when heavy smoking and the relentless demands of the entertainment industry often shadowed artistic brilliance. Born in rural Oklahoma during the Great Depression, Miller's songs carried the echoes of hard times and the yearning for escape. His death from cancer, an illness linked to the very habits common among performers of his generation, was a somber reminder of the costs of a life lived on the road, chasing both inspiration and survival. Yet his humor never dimmed. Even as his health declined, he remained committed to his work, composing the Tony Award-winning score for the Broadway musical Big River in 1985, a late career triumph that revealed his deep connection to America's storytelling tradition. The immediate aftermath of his death saw an outpouring of respect from across the music industry. Artists from country, pop, and folk paid tribute to the man behind classics like King of the Road, Dang Me, and England Swings. His passing closed a chapter in country music that celebrated wordplay, irony, and character-driven songwriting, a style that faded as the genre shifted toward more polished and commercial sounds in the 1990s. Miller's death therefore symbolized not just the loss of a beloved artist, but the fading of a musical sensibility rooted in simplicity, humor, and human vulnerability. In death, Miller's legend only grew. His songs continued to appear in films, television, and advertising, keeping his voice alive in the collective American memory. His influence can be heard in artists like Randy Newman, Lyle Lovett, and John Prine, musicians who blend humor with heartbreak, much as Miller did. His life and passing remind us that laughter and melancholy are twin threads in the human condition. Ultimately, Roger Miller's death invites reflection on how we remember those who make us feel both joy and empathy through art. We immortalize figures like him not through monuments, but through the songs that continue to echo in diners, jukeboxes, and across generations. His melodies remind us that wit and warmth can outlive even the frailty of the human body, turning mortality itself into music. Marcia Wallace, the quick-witted actress best known for her role as the sardonic teacher Edna Krabappel on The Simpsons and as Carol Kester on The Bob Newhart Show, passed away on October 25, 2013 at the age of 70. Her death was attributed to complications from pneumonia, though she had also been battling breast cancer for decades, a disease she had confronted publicly with characteristic humor and grace. Her passing reflected the resilience and candor of a generation of performers who transformed personal adversity into advocacy and art. Wallace's death came at a time when discussions about women's health, aging, and representation in media were evolving. Her openness about her cancer diagnosis, which began in the late 1980s, mirrored a broader cultural shift toward destigmatizing illness and celebrating survival. In many ways, her struggle and ultimate passing encapsulated the spirit of perseverance and authenticity that defined both her characters and her generation of entertainers. She brought warmth and honesty to comedy, a rare balance that made her both relatable and admired. The immediate response to her death was one of genuine sorrow and respect. The producers of The Simpsons retired her character Edna Krabappel in her honor, airing a moving tribute that closed with the words, "We'll really miss you, Mrs. K." This gesture highlighted not only her lasting impact on pop culture, but also how animated television, often viewed as irreverent, could display deep emotional resonance. Fans around the world shared memories of the character's laughter, sarcasm, and heart, recognizing how Wallace had infused Edna with a depth that transcended mere comedy. Her death also reignited conversations about women in entertainment, particularly those who began their careers in the 1960s and 1970s, an era marked by both liberation and limitation. Wallace's success as a comedic actress and her willingness to speak out about health and body image positioned her as both a trailblazer and a role model. In remembering Marcia Wallace, we are reminded of the profound ways humor can coexist with hardship. Her legacy endures not only in reruns and animation, but also in the laughter and compassion she inspired. Humanity's relationship with mortality is often shaped by those who face it with courage and humor, and Wallace did precisely that. Through art and remembrance, we continue to celebrate figures like her, those who teach us that even in life's final chapters, laughter remains one of our most powerful acts of defiance against time. Phil Lesh, the pioneering bassist of Grateful Dead, died on October 25, 2024, at the age of 84. While the official statement did not specify the exact cause, it noted he passed peacefully, surrounded by his family and full of love. His death came after years of health struggles, surviving prostate and bladder cancers and undergoing a liver transplant in 1998 due to chronic hepatitis C. Thus, his final passing felt both natural and gentle, yet also decades in the making. Lesh's death reflects the broader challenges and values of his era: the late 1960s counterculture, the rise of extended live performances, and the idea of music as community. Born in Berkeley in 1940, Lesh started as a classically trained musician before joining the Grateful Dead in 1965. His innovative bass style, treating the instrument as a melodic voice rather than mere rhythm, helped define the band's improvisational ethos. When he died, it marked more than the loss of a great musician. It symbolized the fading of a generation deeply committed to musical exploration, social connection, and the notion of journey over destination. The immediate consequences of his passing were felt in both music and culture. Fans and fellow artists gathered, virtually and in person, to pay tribute. At the Grateful Dead's residency at the Las Vegas Sphere in March 2025, his signature song Box of Rain was performed in his memory, with visuals and a voiceover archiving his legacy. Plans for a full band reunion marking the Dead's 60th anniversary were canceled following his death, underscoring his irreplaceable role within the group. In death, Lesh's stature grew. His legend amplified as fans revisited how his bass lines anchored a cultural movement and helped shape modern rock. In his passing, we are reminded of how humanity grapples with mortality, power, and memory. Lesh's life echoed the belief that art can outlast the body, that even as musicians age, their work ripples outward. We immortalize figures like him through recordings, concerts, foundation work, such as his Unbroken Chain Foundation, and communal rituals of remembrance. His death teaches us that legacy isn't just about individual achievement, but about the communities we build, the sounds we share, and the journeys we take together. Estelle Reiner, the American actress, singer, and comedienne, passed away on October 25, 2008, at the age of 94. Her death was attributed to natural causes, the quiet conclusion of a long and fulfilling life deeply interwoven with the golden era of American entertainment. As the wife of legendary filmmaker Carl Reiner and the mother of actor-director Rob Reiner, Estelle was part of a creative dynasty that helped shape the humor and warmth of post-war American culture. Her passing marked not only the end of an era within one family, but also a symbolic farewell to a generation that embodied optimism, artistry, and wit. Reiner's death reflected the values of her time: resilience, family, and a belief in humor as a means of enduring hardship. Born in 1914, she lived through the Great Depression, World War II, and the transformation of Hollywood from the studio system to the age of television and independent cinema. Her later fame came unexpectedly. In her 70s, she became a cultural icon for her cameo line in When Harry Met Sally, 1989. The unforgettable, "I'll have what she's having." This moment encapsulated her comedic timing and the understated intelligence that defined her generation of performers. When she died, the entertainment community remembered her not just as a mother or wife, but as an artist in her own right, who found her voice later in life and left it echoing in one of cinema's most quoted scenes. The immediate consequences of her passing were heartfelt tributes from Hollywood and fans alike. Her death prompted retrospectives that revisited the Reiner family's immense contribution to comedy, from The Dick Van Dyke Show to All in the Family and beyond. In honoring Estelle, many recognized her influence as the emotional anchor of a family whose humor helped America laugh through social change and uncertainty. Her passing, though peaceful, became a reflective moment, a reminder that behind every public figure stands the quiet artistry of those who nurture creativity in others. Estelle Reiner's life and death remind us that legacy is not only about fame or grandeur, but about the power of laughter and love to outlast time. We immortalize figures like her not only through their performances, but through the emotions they evoke: joy, nostalgia, and warmth. In this way, Estelle Reiner continues to live on in the laughter she inspired, proving that art, once shared, is the most enduring form of memory. Pascal Augier, one of French cinema's most luminous young talents, met a tragic and untimely death on October 25, 1984, just one day before her 26th birthday. Her passing was sudden and shocking. She died from a heart attack reportedly linked to a drug overdose. At the height of her burgeoning career, Augier's death not only stunned the French film community, but also came to symbolize the fragility and intensity of a generation navigating fame, creativity, and the pressures of artistic expression in the early 1980s. Born into cinematic royalty as the daughter of actress Boule Augier and filmmaker Barbette Schroeder, Pascale was destined for the screen. Yet, she refused to merely inherit fame. she carved out her own space in France's avant-garde movement. Her breakout performance in Éric Rohmer's Full Moon in Paris, 1984, captured the restless spirit of her time. A generation yearning for independence but paralyzed by uncertainty. Her sudden death mere weeks after the film's release turned her into an emblem of youthful brilliance extinguished too soon. The tragedy mirrored the broader anxieties of the era, when creative freedom often came hand in hand with personal turmoil and self-destruction. The immediate aftermath of her death left a deep void in French cinema. Critics and filmmakers mourned not only the loss of a gifted actress, but also the collapse of potential. What she might have brought to art had she lived. She had just received the Volpi Cup for Best Actress at the Venice Film Festival, a sign that international recognition was imminent. Her passing froze her image in time, forever youthful, enigmatic, and fragile. In death, Augier joined the pantheon of artists like James Dean and Jean Seberg, whose early departures immortalized their work in the amber of eternal promise. Pascal Augier's death invites reflection on humanity's complicated relationship with mortality and fame. We are drawn to those who burn brightly and briefly, as if their impermanence makes their artistry purer, untouched by decay. Through retrospectives, essays, and restored prints of her films, Augier continues to be celebrated not merely for her tragic end, but for the depth and sensitivity she brought to the screen. Her story underscores how art transforms mortality into memory, how even in death, the human desire to create beauty ensures that the artist's voice endures beyond the silence of time.